Howdy folks, welcome back to Black Sheep Meadow. I'm Brent.
And I'm Amber, and we got a great one for you today.
I think Mother Nature wants to eat everything that we're growing on our homestead today.
This is true.
So today we're going to go over a couple of things. It seems like really Mother Nature is just after everything we're producing here on the homestead. We got deer problems, we got possum problems, and we got bug problems, and we're going to take care of all that today.
All three of them we're going to take care of today. We're going to take you guys along with us. When you have a homestead and gardens of this size, these are things that you just have to deal with, and you have to come up with a solution. So the first thing we're going to tackle is deer fence.
Yep.
Which
it's a very simplistic fence. It's very cheap and it's very effective. We've tried many things in the past that did not work, and year after year this seems to be what really takes care of the deer.
And it's so simple.
So deer do not have very good depth perception. They have very good peripheral vision because their eyes are on either side of their head, but their depth perception prevents them from jumping multiple objects at one time. You could put a 8-foot tall fence up here and that deer is really going to think about how can I get over it. But if you put two fences just slightly apart, 4 to 5 foot apart, that deer says, hey, I don't know how far that second obstacle is, so I'm basically not going to jump it.
So what we've got going on here is this is probably the 3rd or 4th year we've used these. These are just electric, the cheapy little step in the ground electric fence post. So we put an electric fence on the outside. We run it about my hip height or so.
2 wires.
2 wires. And then on the inside, we'll go slightly higher than that, and we'll run just a cotton rope. Just a single cotton rope. And we'll put flaggers on both of these. We'll just tie some flag tape on both of them, and that's all you need. It's really that simple. It sounds ridiculous, but it's that simple.
Really works.
It really works. This year we're going to incorporate it a lot farther around the garden. Last year we did a semicircle just like we're starting with this year, but last year we noticed, especially as the summer went on and the food sources outside of our garden started to dwindle, the deer really were trying to get in here a lot more, and they actually came up a lot closer to the house. It happened to the okra. They completely ate it. So this year, after the meat chickens are gone, because they're kind of coming through this area, after the meat chickens are gone, we're going to go ahead and fully incorporate all the way around the garden this year. But we've got to start now because they are definitely coming in here.
They're after the sunflowers.
They're after my sunflowers.
So we're gonna get this, put y'all on a time lapse. We're gonna get this fence set up. We're gonna get y'all a visual to see how this fence is actually, what it's like when it's up already going. Then we're gonna get y'all in on how we're taking care of the rest of the pests and predators on the property. So hang in there. Alrighty, so that took us about 25 minutes to get most of a 7,000 square foot garden pretty much sealed off from the deer.
It's semicircled right now, and it's like I said earlier, as soon as the meat chickens are done and out of here, we're gonna go ahead and finish it. It'll take us another 25 minutes, so in less than an hour, we've got a fence that might not look pretty, but it does a dang good job of keeping the deer out of the garden.
It's very effective. So I don't really know if y'all can see in the camera that well or not, but we have a hot wire fence, 2 strands, about say a foot above the ground, and then right at waist level, 4 foot in, we have another, just a cotton rope. Actually, I think it's a nylon rope with flagging tape marking it all. It needs to be a visual. One of the hardest things for us to overcome on this type of fence, and the fact that it works, is, you know, we always tried to build a fortress. You know, it's like we need 5-strand barbed wire. It needs to be 10 foot tall with cattle panel and, you know, 40,000 volt electric fence, all this stuff, and it just never worked. You're not going to mentally break down a deer in that fashion, but if you build something to where the deer says, hey, that's more trouble than I want to get into, psychologically it really works better than anything enforced.
Now it's probably the ugliest fence ever. It doesn't look the best, but it's temporary. It's only here for the summer. And then in the way we did it, because it's temporary, it's really easy to take back down. So when it comes time to bring tractors in here and stuff like that, this is not hard. Most of this is reusable the next year. Like I said, these plastic hot fence poles. Those are going on like 5 years old, and they're still just fine. It's just
most of the 2x2s are on their 3rd year.
Yeah, so we had to add a few this year, and because we're going to add on to it. But yeah, the next battle is bugs.
Let's go kill some bugs. All right, so now we're off to our bug issue. And when it comes to bugs, it seems like worms have been probably the primary culprit of most of our problems in the garden area. And we fought this for quite some time, and vast varieties of our garden plants too.
And several years back, we had them so bad that they completely wiped out crops for a year. So we really have focused on how to combat them, and I think Brent has done a fantastic job of figuring out a schedule and a regiment that does a really good job. And
we're not like all organic here on the homestead, but we do try and use as many natural things as we possibly can. With that said, we don't like to spray chemicals unless there's really no absolutely have to, but we just don't like spraying chemicals on our food that we're going to consume.
So we try to limit that to the absolute worst case scenario type situations, but we really try to stay away from that type stuff.
So what I've settled on is actually a BT Thuricide. You can pick this up online, Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware. There's a bunch of different places that have it.
Your garden stores will have it.
Most garden stores. I see there's a few garden stores that I don't see that actually have it every time. But with that said, it works very well on all the worms. And the worms seem to be our biggest problem, whether it's for corn. If y'all have watched I think it was one of our last gardening videos where we planted our corn, y'all know that we planted a GMO corn that's going to naturally grow BT bacteria for us. It's once again, it's a naturally occurring bacteria. It's not harmful to us for humans because the pH in our stomachs is too high, and as soon as we consume it, the bacteria dies instantly.
No, don't go drink a whole bottle of it. That could probably hurt you. But and the small doses that could still be on your food that you're going to consume, it will not be enough to.
With that said, it's already naturally on the food you consume anyways. It's on this camera lens that you're looking at us through. It's on the picnic table that we're sitting on. The BT bacteria is a naturally occurring bacteria that's already everywhere. Yep. But it is harmful to the worms. It destroys their digestive tract, and it's very easy to apply. Just a sprayer.
We use a pump up sprayer like this, or well, I should say Brent does this, but he has a pump up sprayer that he pretty much keeps full of this at all times. Because the one bad thing about it, because it is an organic, naturally occurring bacteria, as soon as it rains, it's gone. So every time it rains, he's back out here, he's watching the forecast, and he's reapplying and he's reapplying. So this is not something a one and done. This is not for, I don't want to say lazy gardening, but this is not a set it and forget it type thing. This is you need to constantly be after it. And now is when we start getting really active with it, because our plants are at the stage where the bugs are going after them.
Temperatures increase, the bugs are able to survive. Once again, the bugs are eating our plants at night while we're asleep. Yep. One other thing with the BT is it's not very long lasting and heavy UV exposure. So if you got a lot of plants that are in that 8 hours worth of sunlight every day, try and apply it in the evening time after the sun's gone down. And it doesn't take very long. Once a bug consumes this, it's just a few minutes. It's not very long at all. So
and it's safe for all plants. Like, correct. I don't think I've seen a single plant that you can't spray it on.
We use this on almost everything, and this takes care of like the tomato worms, the cut worms that cut down a tomato plant. Looks like somebody come along with a pair of snips. I'm going to show y'all here on some brassicas here in just a minute that we've already got some bug problems on. Cabbage, squash vine borers. It really does it all.
You can even spray it on your fruit trees. You can spray it in your like oak trees. You can spray it. I haven't seen a single plant that you can't spray this on to keep worms out. So if you have those type bugs,
just remember, it's not going to take care of anything that has an exoskeleton. So fire ants, grasshoppers, crickets, that type thing.
Yeah, fire ants are probably the one thing that still occasionally get chemicals around here.
Let's go check out our broccoli. All right, so here we are at some broccoli plants that we're trying to get to produce for us before the summertime temperatures get too hot and they start to bolt. But you can see these plants are they're just a few weeks old, really. And you can see the amount of bug and pest damage that we have on them already. And this is primarily what we target with our BT spray. We're going to spray all of these leaves. Now the thing with the BT spray is the bug has to consume the bacteria. It can't just walk or crawl across the top of it or get sprayed on top of the bug. That's not going to hurt the bug. It has to ingest the BT bacteria. So we're going to give a pretty copious amount of coating to all these leaves. Once again, this can be applied to pretty much any and all plants on the homestead. So let's get this sprayed.
So real quick before we get into the turkey coop and the possum, I wanted to mention about the BT. It is bee friendly, bee safe, so I'm not worried about my pollinators coming in contact with it or ingesting it. It is bee safe. It's also safe for Oakley, so anywhere we spray it, if she happens to go out there and chew on something that has it sprayed on it, it's not going to hurt her either, and I really appreciate that. So another plus for the BT. Now, on to the turkey coop. Now, over the past couple of weeks, we've actually had 2 possums get into our turkey coop. Within a relatively short amount of time, I think it was over a 3 or 4 day period, we had 2 separate possum incidences. Now, we are not interested in killing every animal that comes onto our property. I don't have a problem with possums out in the pasture. I don't have a problem with them out in the woods. When the possums get into my turkey and my chicken houses, that's when I have a problem, because now they're going to eat my livestock. And that's when I have a problem and they need to be relocated. Rainbow Bridge type way. So this morning when I was in here giving the girls some scratch grain, you kind of do inspections. You kind of look around. You might not spend a whole lot of time, but you kind of look around, and I happened to look down and notice something that I believe might be the cause or the location of where said possums have come from. So down here in this corner, you'll see Brent already had some wire here to try to protect this corner, but I believe they were able to kind of maneuver it away a little bit, and that looks like a perfect place for a possum to come in and out of this coop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of wiggle this wire back in here, and I'm going to put a brick here, and I'm going to weigh it down, and if it continues to be a problem, we're going to put the brick and possibly a T-post. You'll notice that it's always the corners. The corners are your weak link where things can get in and out of your coops. So keep that in mind when you're, have livestock and you had them pinned up like this. Corners will always be your problem. So the other thing that we noticed or we did was on the chicken coop, if we can get the camera back up here. On our other chicken coop, we actually bordered all the way around with paver stones. But those paver stones were left here from the previous owner of our property, so we repurposed them. Well, paver stones are pretty expensive, so we're trying to monitor this as it works. As we see a problem, we will address it. If at some point we need to do something else and make it more secure, we will definitely do that. But for now, I think this brick will be just perfect.
There we go.
Okay, so this might look a little weird, but we are out here at our deer feeder, and one, they're our dependents. We feed them. They come around. We're not going to stop them from coming onto our property. We enjoy watching them, but they are a nuisance. But we have found that if we keep feeding them out here, they stay away from the garden. So we keep it full. It's one of those things. It's a blessing and a curse. They're fun to watch. They're here. They're not going anywhere. We feed them, and it does keep them. When this gets empty and we forget to feed it, they are definitely in the garden a lot more than when this is full and they have access to this. So it is what it is.
In the meantime, folks, I guess we're going to encourage y'all. Hopefully this video gave y'all some good insight on how to keep the pests from eating everything you're trying to grow on your homestead.
Yep.
But in the meantime, we're going to encourage y'all, like we do every week, get off the system, become ungovernable.
Become ungovernable.
We'll see y'all next week.
See you next week.